economics also you will do post-independence, because post-independence is what they deal with. My emphasis and my understanding is to give you a skeleton in which you can place these things, So in question, some question, how to answer 18th, 19th century. Any, just know one thing. Please understand this very simply. When it is 1700, it is 18th century. When it is 19th century, it means 1800. Whatever is the number in the front, the century is always one forward. So we are in 21st century, though we are in 2023. If you are able to understand this, you will easily be able to understand the time period of the question. So if it says now listen to me, it says mid 20th century. What year is it saying? Because Sai Dinesh, we have to actually start somewhere. Mid 20th century. Very good. Mid 20th century would be 1950. So if I had to give you the time period of the British, 18th century to 20th century. 2 centuries there are there. UPSC will generally ask you this way. First quarter of 16th century would mean what? First quarter of 16th century. Very good. 1525, which is 1 year before the Battle of Plassey, which I will discuss with you. So if you know this, then you can deal with any question of century. Yes? No issues, Yash. Yes, don't worry. I've already done 21 to 22 classes of modern India. You're here with me in post-independence, 3 classes. Just be with me, because from Tuesday, what you start is geography. That will start from the first module. For anybody who is here with me for the first time, don't have to worry. Just enjoy the class. You will get a chance to do this with me later, but your main class will start with geography on Tuesday. That is going to be the first itself. Right? Okay. Now what I want to do here is very simply 3 things. Now in history, when I said, don't have to worry, Arun. As I said, you've joined me here. This is first post-independence class. The irony is that for understanding of post-independence, you need to know modern India. That is not an issue. I will keep on reiterating what to do. However, from Tuesday, geography starts first batch, first class itself. That is going to be your first class in a way, where you start to cover everything what you need to cover. Okay. Now, history for UPSC is technically 6 subjects. And the 6 subjects basically are ancient, medieval, modern, art and culture, post-independence, and world history. So basically, the total weightage of history in PT is mostly 20 questions, and in mains, it's 3 to 5 questions, which is again very significant that way. Now, but the purpose of all these 6 is not the same. The purpose of this is not the same. These 2 are just for prelims. These 2 are prelims and mains. And these 2 are only mains. Now, what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is that ancient medieval, there will be no subjectivity or subjective question. So when I teach you ancient and medieval, our emphasis is going to be a little bit different, which is I will teach you with an orientation, 7 and 7 modules, when I will teach you that with regards to how the ancient and medieval whole structure, it's not factual, though it's not factual. Our answer writing aspect is not there. So for example, when there is always an aspect of mains, conceptual clarity should be maybe here. And with ancient medieval, I can keep it a little bit here, but factual knowledge has to be here. On a mains oriented subject, factual can be a little bit lower. Modern and art and culture are considered the most important because both come in prelims and mains both. Modern, you will get at least 5 to 10 questions, and art and culture, again, you will get at least 5 to 10 questions. Together with ancient medieval, there can be 20 to 25 questions. So the questions internal differentiation changes, and from post independence and world history, you will get one question or 1-2 questions for sure. That is why 3 modules for 1 question is not bad. Is not bad. And I will do world history with you because world history is important to understand modern India and IR, and that is going to be the purpose there, where we will cross that bridge when we'll cross that. So you will technically meet me thrice. You'll meet me once for ancient medieval art and culture, then you will meet me for modern India, and then you'll meet me for what is called world history. So right now we are doing the modern plus post independence set. Now, if a topic is only mains, what should be our emphasis? Abhinav, don't just look at 2022. Look at other years also. What should be our emphasis? Shruti, I'll talk about that tomorrow, don't worry. Our emphasis should be conceptual clarity. Because if our concepts are clear, we can write any answer because, see, I'll tell you one very important point. And this is a secret between you and me, that mains answers, if you know the trick, are not difficult. Because 200 to 250 words is very less words. So you technically have to show to the examiner that you know the topic, but you don't have to go into details. So you technically have to make a fool out of the examiner, which is that I know it, but I don't need to technically put too many facts. So for example, in the question of what we saw in modern India, with regards to the question of many voices. Now, if I add basic words and write one line about them, it will automatically become 150 words. If it is automatically becoming 150 words, where is the scope to write anything? See, in prelims, the UPSC can catch you because they are giving you the question. Here they are saying, tell me what you know. So here what matters is conceptual clarity. I know what it is, so I can then just construct an answer. It's about constructing an answer. Because what students do is overthink about mains. What they do is that I have to write facts, You will never have the scope to write facts. What you will technically have is I've taught you how to think like a Britisher, be a Britisher. Just give them deceit. It's about deceitness. Can you technically show to the examiner that you know the topic also, but you don't have to go into detail also? And this is the main thing you need to understand. Now, when we start post-independence, now one thing which goes out of the picture and out of the window itself is that we technically don't need to worry about facts. What really matters is how to understand. If you understand a topic, you will never forget it. And that is the purpose here. So the purpose of post-independence is clear. Why are we here? We are here because we have to understand. I'll tell you what is the book. Don't worry. Why are we here? The first and foremost point should be clear. Are we clear that post-independence is only for mains? Therefore, what our emphasis is going to be is concepts. Yes? Great. Now, what are we going to cover? We are going to cover today, this is module 1, this is module 2, and this is module 3. Module 1 is the challenges which India had as a nation as of 1947. the colonial legacy, the challenges, partition, and the biggest issue which the British gave us, which is integration of princely states. Second, tomorrow we will discuss language issue, linguistic, only 3 modules. Language issue, linguistic reorganization, and regional inequality. And on Monday, we will have our last class, which is, I will be discussing with you our foreign policy, the general way Indian politics went from Congress domination to coalition to emergency, just a basic overview of what is happening. And last but not the least, we will discuss all the wars. But I will tell you one more thing. Which is that there are only 3 type of questions which can be asked. Yes, Priyanka. There are only 3 type of questions which can be asked, and I will tell you the 3 type of questions which is going to come. In this whole story, the first question mostly comes from here. The second question comes from here. The third type of question comes from here. And the basic, these 3 modules in that sense are basically, these 3 topics in themselves are basically what comes in the examination. This is it. That is it. If you look at any of the questions which I will show you on Monday, only these 3 modules have been asked, only these 3 basic topics. Other than that, UPSC generally does not touch anything else because it is either too messy or too much or cannot be written within 250 words. So the basic point of the matter is, this is how we go about it. Tomorrow, as I said, Saturday 7 to 10:30 a.m. because we lost time in the first class because of a technical glitch. We are making that up tomorrow. 7 in the morning till 10:30 a.m. we have a class of post-independence. And third module, they don't even ask a question. That is the irony. But I have to cover it with you with regards to the wars and all. But that's a separate issue altogether. It says AM, not night, morning. 7 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Please remember, 7 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Not in the night. So, no, you don't have to change anything. Bhuna, you can actually see it within your own dashboard. It will say in your own class schedule, it will show a class tomorrow. Okay. Now, what do you need to read? Now, there is this 12th class political science NCERT called Politics in India Since Independence. This book is actually quite good. A lot of students buy that Bipin Chandra, India After Independence. But the problem with that book is it is this thick. I will bring it in class. It's this thick. And out of that, only 50-60 pages are relevant. So there's no point buying that book. And even what we have sent to you or would be reaching you, don't have to bother. If you can do the PPT plus this book, your work is done. And I have always said it for world history also and post-independence, the book is technically not needed. You just can do these 2 basic resources and you will be capable of writing any answer. Khushi, no issues. You can do it with me the next time. No issues at all. That 1 module, be assured, no issues at all. So, are we clear about the book, the purpose and what we are doing here? Because then I would like to start post-independence. So, you had basic questions with me. Now, I hope that both basic questions are clear. You don't even need to do that, Suma. Don't have to do. Baiju's book, don't even need to touch. Concentrate in class. And the point is, what is the strategy here? Once these 3 modules will be done, you will take these 3 modules and close them and keep it aside. Why? Because once you clear the prelims examination, once you have written the prelims examination, then post-independence is going to come out. Because post-independence, there is no prelims question. It's a mains oriented topic. So what I want you to do is that for 3.5 hours, if you are with me, understand the issue. And once you are going to now you've written the prelims examination, then open up the PPT and the book. Don't even need to bother right now. I will give you that much knowledge for sure. Right? Getting my point? Tomorrow it is the SME. Can you just push the time? 7 to 10:30 a.m. Saturday is the class. This book is relevant for world history also? No. World history, there's no book only. That is the beauty of world history. No book at all. Are we clear with regards to our purpose? Mains oriented. What are the modules? And politics in India since independence plus PPT. I'll see. My task is to make your task easier. If I come and say, read this book, read this book, read this book, this is book, don't even Kivika have to open the book. We have sent you the Byju's branded post-independence. I'm telling you, enjoy. Just listen to me and understand. It's all understanding based. Right? Okay. Now, Pritam, I'm not getting your question. I'm not getting a question. You've written the same thing 2 times. Can we start? Everyone, comfortable? Happy? No books to be written, no books to be read. Just have to listen to me. That's it. Great. Perfecto. Great. Now what is the context? Now, what is the context of our independence? The context of independence is 3 things. First, that we had a long national movement, very long national movement. I think you were tired by the end of it, that why isn't independence coming? Why isn't independence coming? It was a long movement, irritating movement. Jinnah was there talking about things, blocking things, communalism. Basically, when we did get independence in the morning of 16th August 1947, if one thing was basically clear, that we were tired. Pritam, he will, don't worry. I understand it, he will also understand, don't worry. That if we were tired listening to the story, imagine the person who had to fight for it. So we were tired. As much as we don't want any issues, what we wanted on 16th August 1947 was that we just sit down for one moment and say, finally we got independence. However, somehow fate had a different story or something else written for us. Because though our national movement had been long, frustrating, sacrifices were made, and a lot of problems were generated, there was violence, there were debates. The fact of the matter is, Jinnah made sure that we would not live in peace. And the fact of the matter is, that is because independence came with partition. Independence came with partition. And I have to discuss partition with you in quite a lot of details. But the basic point of the matter is that this created a new set of challenges for us. And very simply, we didn't need it. We didn't need it. And the mighty British white man's burden were not even able to execute a partition. The worst implemented division of 2 countries is actually the Indian partition. Worst. Not even Israel and Palestine is so messed up that as much as India and Pakistan was. Because whilst Mountbatten said that we will go for voting, we will do plebiscite, we will do this, we will do that, Nothing was done even before India was given independence. Randomly one day they said, okay, we are giving you independence. Now the act has been passed, and simple is what? Independence comes with partition. And I will tell you why partition in Indian history is considered a very problematic aspect. But if that was not enough, we were also not born to a world which was good. Which is that we were not born to a world where there was no sides, there was no conflict. We were born into a world, we one day old India. We were born into a world which was fighting amongst itself with the US and the USSR trying to dominate each other. Technically, this is Russia and America. And the word which is used for it, and I will teach you in quite a lot of detail, is called Cold War. Cold War politics. It's called Cold War because there was no war between the two, but it was technically diplomatic war. The way we do it with China today, the way we do it with Pakistan today, there's no exact war, but it is basically a Cold War politics, which is called diplomatic war. Now, as soon as we are born, imagine you are born one day, first day you are born, and your parents ask you, choose between us. Which is better, mother or father? One day old child, he has to choose. Do you want to be with your mother or your father? And if you are not going to, if you are going to be with your mother, father is not going to talk. If father, then mother is not going to talk. And this is basically the real life example of what is happening in Cold War politics. If we go with the US, the USSR will not talk to us, or there will be no relation between USSR and us. And if we go with USSR, then America will not have a relationship with us. And this is why Nehru, as much as you can criticize him or talk about him or do whatever to him, he found a solution to this. And we will discuss that, which is called NAM. Non-alignment movement. Which is that we will align with neither, we will talk with both. We will align with neither, we will talk with both. Basically, neutral stance, which is called the Nehruvian neutral non-alignment movement. And that is the context for our existence between 1947 and 1991. This is the world we live in. Which is the fact that Nehru was the interim government head, so he became the prime minister automatically. So, I am trying to create a picture in front of you. The picture is India has been born, one day old, frustrated, and into a world which is divided. Now, if you understand the context, I would like to discuss the first challenge itself, which is the partition. Can I discuss partition with you? Okay, now, very good. So you understand the picture. Try to understand it. Picture, you can imagine it. Now, India, we know that this was Jinnah's conception of Pakistan. We don't know what he was drinking or eating when he was coming up with this. This was the cabinet mission plan. This was the cabinet mission answer. This was Jinnah's conception of Pakistan, which is not Pakistan, but I don't know what. Basically, something somewhere only leaving Orissa sector. He wanted something somewhere for sure. That some part in Bengal, some in Bihar, some in UP, some in MP, some in Delhi, Punjab, Rajasthan, in MP, in the Karnataka sector, parts of Andhra Pradesh. He wants parts of the Kerala, Tamil Nadu coast, Sri Lanka, not even under the British properly. Sri Lanka he also wants. He wants, if he had the chance, he would add Burma also to this. And then Andaman and Nicobar Islands. He wanted everything. So it's a child who's technically given a coloring book and he just started to color with green color wherever he could. That's the basic point. Now, what I want to discuss with you first is that how is that we came to this point? And we've already discussed it, but I want to again reiterate this point. And the reiteration of this point is very simple, that in 1936, in 1906, Muslim League is formed. Muslim League is formed. Now, no Muhammad, no. Now, Muslim League is formed in 1906. For 30 years, it did a drama. We represent the Muslims. We represent the Muslims. The Muslims supports the Muslim League. We represent the Muslims. Then comes the first election after 1935 Government of India Act, and he gets 3% votes of Muslims. Now, till this point, communalism in India was nascent stage, infant stage, which is that it was not inevitable in 1936 that India would get divided. It was not inevitable that India would get divided, but it was the humiliation of 1936 which technically made Jinnah literally go mad. Because what Jinnah now got to know very simply was that in India, he would never dominate. In India, he would never even get the post of agriculture minister. And the simple point of the matter is, he is more or less handicapped in front of the INC. The conclusion was not that Muslims will never get justice in India. It was that Muslim League was not going to ever get justice. And that is why when in 1939, the war cabinet is created, it is here that Jinnah creates a relationship with Linlithgow, Viceroy Linlithgow. And therein comes the concept of second wife. That it was believed that Jinnah was the second wife of Linlithgow. That basically Linlithgow needed a solution to the INC. And because the INC did not join the war cabinet over the issue of concessions, what Nehru had said, now every day Linlithgow and Jinnah used to meet. Okay, you also hate INC, I also hate INC. Let's talk about it over tea. Okay, you also love Darjeeling, I also love Darjeeling. Have you been to Bombay? I will tell you where to go. Proper. It was believed that at one point of time, Linlithgow was only seen with Jinnah only seen with Jinnah, which is that 1939 war cabinet is where INC lost a plot. INC lost a plot which is to give Linlithgow and Jinnah some alone time. And here Linlithgow realizes that though this person is useless, I can use him well. And the use was to create an antithesis, an opposition of the Congress itself. And it is between this 1939 and 1945 period that Muslim League is pushed by the British government, and it started to become popular. But technically Jinnah was being used, but Jinnah wanted to be used also. And as of 1945, still we thought that okay, Jinnah not that important. But the turning point will be 1945 Wavell Conference. When the Wavell Conference will come, When Jinnah will walk off, the fool called Wavell, the conference was dissolved. That basically, if Jinnah doesn't stay, we don't have a solution. And this is basically seen as the first turning point. And then the next turning point is 1946, when the election is going to happen and he is going to get 86.6 vote share in Muslims and all 30 seats reserved for Muslims. Now here comes the inevitable part. Here comes the inevitable part, which is that from 1906 to 1946, this 40 years, Jinnah became from zero to hero, which is that even in this 10 years, 36 to 46, he technically, if he did not have got the support of Wavell, of Linlithgow, he would not have become anything in any way or form. Nothing at all. He was nothing. He was generally nothing, but the British made him something. And that is why when in 1946, Jinnah started to do drama, I will not join the interim government, I will not do this, I will not do that. Nehru actually wrote a letter to Attlee that Jinnah is doing too much drama. That Jinnah is doing too much drama, and now I don't have the time or the patience to deal with this person. So you tell me, when do you give me independence? Because now I cannot in any way or form basically deal with this person. He is unbearable. Just give him another country so that he can go there and stay. And that is the basic point. The INC had given up on an idea of independence with Pakistan. Independence had to come with partition. And that is why the 1946 cabinet mission was shocked by this. That basically, what are you asking for? You don't even know. Therefore, the concept of communalism, the concept of cabinet mission, between this whole concept in India, remember one thing, that communalism is a British created hatred between two communities, the Hindus and the Muslims. Very simply, Lacheba, just refresh. It is proper British divide and rule. That there is no way India was ever going to have two nations when we were under Mughal rule, when we were in the initial period. It is all British created. It is an engineered concept in India. So I hope that you realize why we got partitioned under Mountbatten plan, because we had no other option. There was an inevitability to the partition, and there is no way we could have come out of this taking Pakistan together, because there were no other solutions which Pakistan or Jinnah wanted. Is this first point clear? You can write this, why not? There can, in UPSC, not in UPSC, but in optional level, there's a question which comes. Was the partition inevitable? Yes, it was. But not in 1936, but in 1946. Now, what was the Mountbatten plan? The Mountbatten plan was very simply find two provinces which have Muslim majority. So West Punjab had 15 million people total and 11 million were Muslims. Basically 1.5 crore was the population. and 1.1 crore were Muslim. On the other hand, East Bengal, there were 39 or 3 crore people, 39.10 million, and 2.7 million or 2.7 crore were Muslims and rest are non-Muslims. And this is the reason why Radcliffe Line or the division of Pakistan was technically done in these two provinces, West Punjab and East Bengal. And the 3rd June plan, which was appointed along with the Indian Independence Act, technically that was what the Radcliffe Line was about. So it was decided that this Sir Cyril Radcliffe, a jurist, a judge, is going to come to India and he will technically divide these two provinces. Now, do you want to know the irony of this story? Do you want to know the irony of this story? Yes. The irony of this story is actually the two provinces which they chose technically did not have Muslim vote bank in a way. Because in West Punjab, in this sector, there were two different parties which actually reigned. In West Punjab, it was actually Khizr Hayat Khan and his Unionist party, which was actually in majority. And in East Bengal, there was a person called Fazl ul Haq and his Krishak Praja party, the KPP it was called. They were in majority. And can you tell me what is common to these two, Fazlul Haq and Khizr Hayat Khan? What is common to these two is they both hated Jinnah. They both hated Jinnah, literally hated Jinnah. Fazlul Haq used to say that you are not even a true Muslim. Asking for Pakistan, are you Pak yourself, which is so holy than you talk about? Fazlul Haq used to hate Jinnah and Khizr Hayat Khan used to not even acknowledge Jinnah. So you will see these two spellings. Khizr is written like this also. Khizr is written like this also. Both are correct. So basically, the two sectors which were chosen, ironically, Jinnah also did not want it. They are Muslims, but they didn't believe in Jinnah's cause. Technically, in a way, against partition. And when the line will be drawn, this is the first part of the Radcliffe line, and this is the second part of the Radcliffe line. So two Pakistans will be created, one called West Pakistan and the other one called East Pakistan. And what is the irony is that there was no connection between the two. That is the irony here. The only way these two Pakistans could interact was via air. Actually through only airways. No other way. They can do the sea, but from Karachi to Dhaka, it used to take 14 days. From here, you have to go across India, then across Sri Lanka, then whole this, then reach this. So technically, there was a major corridor in between India, which you will see when I will discuss with you the 71 war, that once closed, there is no real contact between West and East Pakistan. So they technically used to take Indian permission to operate here. There were only commercial flights which were allowed. No fighter jets were allowed in this whole sector, this airway between Pakistan to Pakistan. And see, we've always been the bigger brother. We've always tolerated the madness of Jinnah. But somehow Pakistan is now reeling under its own madness. That's a separate issue altogether. I will discuss with you. East Pakistan later is going to become Bangladesh. We will discuss that. That is 71 war. So we understand what is the concept. Why were these two areas chosen? Can we first be clear why the two provinces were chosen? Because of their population data. Because of their population data. But now for India, partition created one of the biggest humanitarian crises in the world. Biggest humanitarian crisis. Because what is ironic is that on both sides, now people needed to move. Now people needed to move because there is a Hindu population here and there's a Muslim population here. There's a Muslim population here and there's a Hindu population here. And what is ironic is that these people did not even vote for the partition. But what I want you to understand right now is the trauma which these people went through and why we call partition as the first administrative humanitarian crisis which India went through. Because imagine, tomorrow morning, I wake you up and tell you you are in the wrong country. You are in the wrong country. And if you don't run, somebody is going to kill you. If you don't run, somebody is going to kill you for sure. Now you tell me the level of trauma which people will go through. Firstly, you will not even understand what to take with yourself. You can't take cars, you can't take your house. Maximum, you will take your phone, your parents, and just start to move. This was what happened to the Punjabi and the Bengali community on the morning of 16th August 1947. They were in the wrong country immediately. And the British could have actually created certain machinery to actually give these people time to move, but no administrative setup, no concept, no warning, nothing. Just that the British were in a hurry to leave India and they technically wanted to destabilize India. And India does not have an option. So now the Muslim who did not vote to be in Pakistan has to go to Pakistan. And the Punjabi who did not vote to be in Pakistan now has to go into India. And what happened is that there were on both sides, not on one side, but on both sides, people having anger. So the Punjabis were now getting slaughtered and killed on the other side. And on the other side, in Indian side, Muslims were getting slaughtered. And what we see are these images. Images of people just holding the railway track and going towards India either way. They had nowhere to go and they were just going towards Delhi. They knew that somewhere in Delhi they will get something. Somewhere in Delhi something is going to happen. Half of the people did not have anything to transport. If trains were being used, this was the way trains were being used. People were sitting on the trains, in the trains, on the engine to somehow reach India. And there were instances when the train left, everybody was alive. But before it crossed the border, the anti-social elements, Punjabis, Muslims, both, used to literally kill everybody in the train. So when the trains used to actually come to Delhi, everybody was dead. Everybody was dead. Women suffered the most. This is the level of hatred which had developed because of Jinnah's politics. People said, this is not your nation, leave it or be killed. You're asking me why killing? Because you're innocent. Your innocence is asking me why kill. But why they were being killed is because British had created so much hatred that communal riots and riots had become a standard feature. People were now trying to send a message that you are in the wrong nation. Women were raped, were killed, abducted. There are multiple movies from Garam Hawa to even random movies such as Gadar, which try to show you this much level of violence. A very good movie for this is going to be Bhag Milkha Bhag. If you've seen Bhag Milkha Bhag, the first 1 hour of that movie, first 45 minutes of that movie, deals with that level of violence, wherein families lost generations. 14 people in family and 2 reached back. 2 reached back. Or 2 reached Delhi. There would be for sure somebody in this class itself who would be from this community, and their grandparents will tell them stories of partition. Partition, Bhag Milkha Bhag. And the irony of the story is that when Delhi and all of India was dancing, there was one community which was running. So for one community, independence meant freedom. But for some, independence meant displacement. You see, I can push one comment which has come. Shaimil tells us that her mother and grandfather tell them the story. That basically it was not Hindus and Muslims. It was technically people. Humans were being displaced. Humans were being destroyed. Neither did the Muslims ask for it. Neither did the Hindus ask for it. And somehow this story is not known to everybody. Because these two communities, the Punjabis and the Bengalis, somehow swallowed this anger and this sadness of the horrors of the partition. For some, they relive it every day. Imagine you have a house, a car, a life in Pakistan, and when you land in Delhi, you have nothing. This is what is the cost of our independence, which we technically don't talk about. Our independence came at a cost, and a conservative estimate of how many people were killed is close to 3 lakh. 3 lakh. And if you go with the numbers which the communities tell us, 5 to 6 lakh people perished, were killed literally, just because one man wanted something which he didn't even know what he wanted about. So, Alisha, yes, I would like to push this. Okay. Alisha's grandparents had to leave 5 acres of land back. And very simply, this was not just in Punjab, in other parts of India also, this rhetoric was created that you are in the wrong country. Now, this is something which we don't know about. This is something which we don't know about. And I think the horrors of it, we can't relive. We can't relive. But some people still do. Still do. So the first issue is this administrative crisis, which is created because the population of Delhi on 1946-47 was 3 lakh. And on 16th August to October of 1947, it became 8 lakh. 5 lakh refugees were now sitting in Delhi. 5 lakh. So I hope you understand the first part of the story, which is destruction, death, terror, killing, and pain. And if that was not enough, when these people reached Delhi, Delhi has no capacity to keep them. So from a humanitarian crisis, it becomes a refugee crisis. And what I'm trying to tell you here is that our freedom is not free. We are born as an Indian citizen, but our freedom came at a cost. This is the challenge which our Constituent Assembly had. When our constitution was technically being written, this was the context. Imagine how good a constitution we produced, that India was in a pathetic, horrible situation, and people were sitting in the parliament and writing a constitution, knowing that there are people who are technically dying in the cold and heat of Delhi in the Humayun's tomb. This is the Humayun's tomb. They had no other option. And if you've ever been to any of the Mughal monuments, you would have seen that there are chalk huts. What are called? There are basic door panels which are put into the tombs. Have you ever noticed that? If you've ever been to a Mughal monument in Delhi or anywhere, you would see chalk huts. You'd think that the Mughals used it. No. All those doors were installed during the partition period. Yashovarman, yes, the inverted lotus and the Star of David, that is the giveaway that it's Humayun's tomb. And if this was not enough, Delhi has both very, very, very cold temperature. Delhi has very, very hot temperature. Water used to become a door panel. The chalk hut is a door panel. Water used to become a major problem. The people who somehow survived this then either died of the cold or because of cholera and dysentery. This is the image of India. This is India in 1947, October. And then you criticize our fathers of nations that they were not able to bring out a constitution which is representative of everybody. It's not a joke. Indian independence is not a joke. And what we saw after it is also not a joke. So what I'm trying to tell you right now is the first challenge which India faced, which is basically the partition, the administrative and the humanitarian crisis. I'm trying to make you feel about that, because somehow we don't feel our independence. But in this moment, sitting at 6:24 on 3rd 2023, You should feel the pain which everybody felt at the moment of independence, because independence for everybody did not mean independence. Our freedom came at a cost. Communities live with that knowledge and fear. And there are multiple stories, numerous stories about the partition. And now India had to deal with it. Now India had to deal with it. But the irony of this line, the irony of this line is that even Radcliffe did not know what he did. Even Radcliffe did not know what he did. Because when we talk about the Radcliffe line, this is called the Radcliffe line. Radcliffe line. The Radcliffe line, basically, he had no knowledge of India. He had never been to these parts. He was using maps which were outdated. The census which he was using was 1941 census. It had already been 6 years. And if there was anything with regards to any dispute, only 6 weeks were given, and it used to take 1 week to come from Lahore to Delhi. And basically, neither Mountbatten or neither Radcliffe technically had nothing to do or had no understanding of the reality which was on the ground. They just randomly chose to do what they wanted to do. Simple point of the matter is that Radcliffe line, Mountbatten, the British created a mess. The British created a mess, and the single-handed reason for this was Lilithgow, Jinnah. That's it. Leaders did not interfere. What do we do? Nehru, Patel had to accept the fact that India has to live like this now. And at the end of the day, what it did was, now India had to manage this humanitarian plus refugee crisis. So the first challenge which India faced as a nation was the communal Holocaust. Holocaust means mass death and destruction. The partition of the Indian subcontinent. Everybody is following this. Are you understanding the basic point? I hope I've been able to give you that feel, because that feel is very, very important. That what is partition? Now, very simply, the partition affected 1.5 crore people who now had to hastily cross the new borders. Armed bands of Sikhs and Hindus and Muslims roamed on both sides of the border. According to an estimate, 1,80,000 people were killed, 60 in the west and 1.2 in the east, because on the Bengal side also equal death and destruction. And between August 1947 and October, 3.25 lakh refugees migrated to Delhi, and Delhi was not ready for it. This estimate is conservative. The rough estimate is close to 5 lakhs. This is a conservative estimate. And we technically till today don't even know what happened to the people. The most sad part about is that the people did not even get the bodies of their own relatives. Did not get the bodies of their relatives. They had to just leave them behind and move to India. Now, how did India manage it? How did India manage it? And the way was first refugee camps, then rehabilitation. The first department which was created in Government of India was the Relief and Rehabilitation Department. So as to basically make sure that the death and destruction was somehow controlled. Freedom meant displacement and horror for most of these communities. Now, once the refugee camps were made, then in Delhi, Lajpat Nagar, Rajendra Nagar, Punjabi Bagh, Nizamuddin, Kingsway camp. All these areas which you see in Delhi, and you may be living in one of them, were actually created as refugee colonies. And you give it to the Punjabi community that when they came empty-handed, zero, nothing at all. And when they were rehabilitated in Delhi, they have now become one of the richest parts of Delhi in that sense. Because they day in and day night wanted to bring back their prosperity and do something for their relatives. A lot of people were also rehabilitated in Punjab and Himachal Pradesh. But the most interesting case is basically Ulhasnagar, which is in Maharashtra, where a whole city was developed for the refugees which came from the Sindh area. So Sindhi Hindus came to Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh. In West Bengal, Tripura and Assam, the East Bengal, East Pakistan refugees came. And the ironic part is a lot of them were also sent to Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And that is why the most spoken language in Andamans is actually Bengali. Because these were the Bengali Hindus who crossed over. Now, very simply, before I go to the legacy, if they ask you a question that independence came with partition, discuss the challenges partition poses. Can you discuss that? That basically it's a humanitarian and refugee crisis. Humanitarian because of death and destruction, and the humanitarian because of all the points I've given you, that there is needs to be rehabilitated. Yes? Are we all clear about that? Very good. But now what is the legacy of all of this? What is the legacy? And then I give you a break. It's an administrative crisis. It's a crisis in itself. Now, what is the legacy of the partition? That somehow till today, the British taught us something and we are still following it. Which is that Hindu-Muslim tensions till today, legacy means the what it left behind. And the biggest problem is that the divide and rule policy which British did or technically used on us, we still have a hangover of that. We still have a hangover. And the fact is that we still see glimpses of conflict and tension. And basically, the simplest point is, India was never ready or was not even prepared to go for partition. The people who crossed over did not want to be in that country. The Muslim who left his house in Punjab and went to Pakistan did not want to be in Pakistan. The Punjabi community which came from Pakistan to India did not want to be in India. They wanted to be in one nation. But unfortunately, the power politics and the greed of one person destroyed the dream of people. The Muslim and Sikh experience of the independence, Muslims and Sikhs, specifically Muslims in even central part of India, being asked to leave their cities, asked to leave and go back to this fictitious nation which they never voted for. Pakistan never represented Muslims. Pakistan only represents Jinnah's greed and Muslim League's greed for power. But in the end, you are the future of India. You are the future of India. What we need is a secular outlook. What we need is a moment of understanding that basically this question that whose nation it is the nation of an Indian. And an Indian does not have a race, a caste, a religion. Public does not have that. When you will become an IAS officer, you will become a public servant. And the public does not have Hindu, Muslim, upper caste, lower caste, male, female, or anything. Public has no face, public has no gender, public has no religion. We live and abide by the Indian Constitution. And your religion, as a UPSC aspirant, as an aspirant who wants to lead India, your religion, your caste, your gender is the Constitution of India. Whatever our Constitution embodies, we embody. And we have to come and remove this hangover of independence, rather of the partition. We don't have to be caught up in British-centric politics. We, the younger generation, have a responsibility to at least go one step forward than what British taught us. The simple point is, on both sides of the border, it is people. But for some, it is power politics. And that is the problematic aspect here. And therein comes the last point of this point, with that somehow the British left us with a problematic neighbor who has nothing to do. Pakistan, we used to believe that was in a crisis. Now we know it is in a crisis. Pakistan has literally destroyed it's destroyed its whole economy. A nation based on one man's politics and on just doing sectarian politics was never going to go anywhere. They only want one thing, which they will never have and is already a part of India, Kashmir. And just talking about this Kashmir, they have destroyed their own economy. Kashmir has been, will be, and always be a part of India. And the basic point of the matter is their obsession, this basic small level politics which they do. Now they were for a very long time part of the what we call as the grey list of the FATF, which nobody was ready to give them credit. Today, Pakistan has taken close to $86 billion as debt from China, and it does not have the capacity to give it back. What Pakistan is now an example of how, if people are not nurtured on their talent but only religion, that is what happens. Done? Can we close this topic? And then we'll talk about the other two challenges when we come back. Make sense, everyone? Yes? So you can see now we are not going into facts. What I want to give you right now is understanding. So our orientation is totally different in post-independence. We have to understand the larger issues here rather than the small politics. Right. So it is 6:38. Okay. It's basically the partition and the displacement of people, and basically we have what is called a humanitarian and refugee crisis. Now, the simple point of the matter is that this was not enough, or this was not the only thing which was there. Because along with that, we have a major issue, which is the second challenge which India has, that we are literally bankrupt on 1914, 19 on 16th August 1947. There was no money. Our constitution makers, our Constituent Assembly inherited a country which was literally bankrupt. In agriculture, there's a nexus between zamindars and moneylenders. Peasants are under poverty. If that is not enough, famines were also a reality. Indian economy was a subservient economy, which is that it was an economy which was there to serve the British, and now we become an independent country. The only thing which the British left us on 16th August 1947 is a drained out economy and poverty. The Prime Minister is Nehru and the Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Now this has no real meaning. Basically, if you look at the net saving, 2.75% of the national income had been saved between 1914 and 1946. 2.75%. If the national income was 100 rupees, we saved only 2.2 rupees 75 paisa. 98% was technically gone to the British. So when we were writing our constitution, we were literally bankrupted. And this is the second major challenge which India has, that basically we don't have the capacity to even have an economy which is, we are not an industrial economy. 80% of our population was in agriculture, and the output of agriculture was only 7 to 8%. Only 7 to 8%. That this economic crisis had taken a toll. So if it was not for administrative and humanitarian issues, we also have in this whole concept an economic crisis. So if you actually look at it, the British technically left us to be dead. That we as a nation would never survive. We as a nation would never have a chance to be what we are today. And basically economic crisis because of drain, because of poverty, because of the problems of economic structure, no to zero industries. We did not have the capacity to basically support ourselves as of 1947, 16th August. And that is the irony here. That if it was not for an administrative crisis, we don't have the money to actually even rehabilitate these refugees. But we did persist, we did manage, and we did come out of this crisis. But if that was not enough, the third challenge which India faced was the legacy of colonial rule, which is that ICS, the Indian Civil Service, did not know how to rule through democracy. They did not know. They had been a tool in the hand of the British to exploit. The police only knew repression. The education system was geared for the indoctrination of British politics and greatness. And if that was not enough, I already showed you that the judicial system was just a joke. The rule of law, the rule of law was not even true for India. So if there's an economic crisis, there's a problem, our institutions are also colonial. Our institution is also colonial. They are Indian, but they don't know how to rule democracy. You need to understand this. Between 1947 and 49, till the constitution is written, the whole structure is Government of India Act 1935. And Government of India Act 1935 concentrates all power in only one person, which is Governor General. And the ICS, the whole institutions, the whole sector is made in such a way that basically it is only there for the British to rule. You need to understand this. When a renter leaves the house, he leaves his imprint on it. He leaves his imprint on it. The lights, the fan, the furniture was not for democracy. Was not for democracy. It was literally for rule. Brutal, violence-based rule. Which meant that we had to now restructure everything. And this is not something which makes sense. Because the education system only talks about British Western power, British Western greatness. The education system is not there to talk about Indian culture. It's not there to bind India but divide India. The simple point of the matter is, if I add the third point here, the institutions which survived the independence were never made for democracy. And you now need restructuring of basic institutions. And that is a time-consuming task. So before I go to the next, which is consolidation, you need to keep three things in your mind. First, the partition is happening in the background. Humanitarian and refugee crisis, economic backwardness and crisis, and institutions are not geared for people's rule or democracy. So if they ask you the challenges of the nation or the challenges in front of the nation as soon as it got independence, will you be able to write about these 3 points? You will be? Okay. You can say collapsed economy, destroyed economy, whatever economy you want to call it. Now, if we are clear about these three, please need to tell me. Then I do the most important discussion we have to have today, which is integration of princely states. The establishment of democracy is basically a challenge in itself. That establishing democratic rule, in a way, basically, this is the implied point. Establishing democratic rule is challenging. If this is clear, then I talk about a concept which is called paramountcy. As I told you, I will do it with you. Can we discuss about paramountcy? Yes, sir. Come on. Yes, very good. Great. So, now, India, you all wanted to see the map of India. When India got independence, what got independence was only the yellow part. Because what you see here, and then I tell you what is the concept of paramountcy. This all area which you see here are basically princely states. There were 565 princely states in India as of 1947. And these zones which you see now technically have an option. The president is Rajendra Prasad, the prime minister is Nehru. Have an option which is either be part of India or be part of Pakistan or be independent. Now I need to discuss with you, where does this concept of princely state come through and why are they given the concept of leaving India or remaining as a separate country itself. Now I'll tell you what is the concept of princely states. They are technically not fully under the British. These are the areas which are indirectly controlled by the British. And let me discuss this concept. I'm trying to show you this map. Now you get the point when I made the 1935 Government of India Act map. Why I did not show you India. Because technically, if you look at the way I etched it, that was only what was India. This part is technically not considered British India. These are a separate part of British India, which is called princely states. So can I discuss paramountcy with you so that I can explain to you how this whole concept develops? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Okay. Now, what I need to discuss with you is the concept of paramountcy. I can begin the discussion. Everybody is following why I showed you that map? Yes? Perfecto. Okay. See, now the British followed two types of policies in India. When the British were expanding, They followed two types of policy. One you already know, which is direct expansion and conquest. Well, the other is called indirect conquest. The first type of expansion, Maratha, Mysore, Carnatic, Sikhs. And the second type of what is called as simple point indirect conquest is based on subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. However, even after following this concept of indirect conquest, not all the different parts of India came under the British. So while they were able to conquer most of India from Awadh to the Maratha sector itself, as of 1857, whatever you see here, the red part was still left. Which is that they had done everything, but still this red part, the red shaded part which I've created, is still left. So basically 565 political units had not been absorbed inside directly controlled British India. Directly controlled means that basically the whole structure was not applied on them. And now in 1857, the British get a shock. Called the Revolt of 1857. Now, when the Revolt of 1857 comes through, one of the reasons which the British attribute to the Revolt of 1857 is basically the concept of annexation was seen as one of the reasons for 1857. And that is why in the Queen's proclamation of 1858, which came with the 1858 Government of India Act, it said no annexation. I hope you understand this sequence. We understand this sequence. We already did it. As of 1857, 565 basic units are left, but Revolt of 1857 happens and Queen says no annexation, because we believe that annexation is one of the reasons for the Revolt of 1857. But now the question is what to do with these 565 units. What to do with these 565 units. And here the British introduced the concept of Paramountcy. Answer is Paramountcy. Annexation means to conquer. Now, Paramountcy, the concept is very simple. All are princely states. I'm coming to that, Suvarna. These 565 are basically states under princes. That is why they're called princely states. They're under princes, they're under kings. Basically, they're under someone. They're under someone. They're under either the princes or under the kings. Princely states basically exist because these are units or political states or political units which there is no full control of British. There's no full control of British. Now the British, some say 521, some say 565. I don't care. That doesn't really matter. Whatever it may be. 565, 561, it is 500 for sure. Now, simple point of the matter is UPSC is not going to ask you that as it is. Now, the basic point of the matter is the British are too scared to conquer them. In NCERT is 565, I know that. The British are too scared to conquer them. So what they introduced, these are Indian kings, obviously Indian princes and kings. So what they introduce is the concept of paramountcy, wherein the princely state got a semi-independent status, wherein the queen is the person who controls the princely states. They have internal freedom, but externally they accept the overlordship of the queen. In a way, like a dominion. Very good. In a way, a dominion. In a way, a dominion. Now, very simply, externally they have no freedom, and internally they have freedom. And this is basically the concept of paramountcy. That there is indirect control. There's a English resident who sits in the court of the king. The king wants to go for shikar, for hunting, go. You want to do this, go. This, that. Basically, the English president is to make sure no rebellion. And this is called the concept of, this is a system which is called as suzerainty. And I'm introducing a new concept to you. Suzerainty. There's something called sovereignty, and there's something called suzerainty. Now, can I give you an example of sovereignty and suzerainty? Very simple example. Can I give you that example? Very simple example. I'll tell you what is paramountcy. I'll tell you simple as that. You are preparing alone in Delhi for UPSC, and you have a room. This is your territory. Now, because you are alone, you control what happens within this room and also outside this room, which means that you have internal and external freedom. So what do you become? What do you become in Delhi alone preparing? What do you become? You become a sovereign. Very good. So you are a sovereign. Basically, both internal and external freedom. But now your friend is preparing with his parents. With his parents. He has a room in that house, and this friend of yours, he controls what happens within the room. So he has internal freedom. But as soon as the door opens into the house, your friend A is under the overlordship of his parents. Basically, the parents dictate external relations. When will you come back? Where can you go? What can you do? When to do? Now, this is called overlordship. You accept the overlordship. Never say it to your parents, but that is technically what you're doing. You accept the overlordship of your parents, and you have internal freedom but no external freedom. No external freedom. Now, this is called suzerainty. This is called suzerainty. Suzerainty. Now, does it make sense? Yes, what external means is basically external means defense, communication, and external affairs are three things which the British control. So, in this relationship, what the princely state technically is you, and the queen is the parents. Princely states are suzerainty based concept in which the queen only indirectly controls. So the relationship is very simple, that the queen is the overlord and she controls defense, communication, and external affairs. Only internal freedom, and sovereignty means both freedoms, yes. And basically via the resident, and the princely state only has internal freedom, but it does not have a say in these matters and external relations. So basically, are we following this concept? Rahul, in a way, yes. Are we following this concept? Are you able to understand this? Internal freedom means that they can do anything. They want to burn the palace, burn the palace. But that palace burning should not impact the British. It's a land of princes, a land of princes, princely state, prince, king. These are the old reminiscents of the Mughal Empire. So basically, it's a major compromise. The compromise is that queen, no rebellion, these states are stable, no threat from them, they still think they rule and have internal political freedom. Suzerainty and dominion status is based on suzerainty only. Suzerainty is the concept on which dominion status is also based and paramountcy is also based. If they don't want under the crown, it means that the British will conquer them. If you don't accept this, see this, if you understand it, basically paramountcy is modified subsidiary alliance. If you make the subsidiary alliance formal, it becomes paramountcy. So, the basic point of the matter is, what is the synonym of paramountcy? Suzerainty. What is the synonym of paramountcy? Overlordship. The taxation policy is nothing at all. They don't tax the princely states. Try to understand. The British India now becomes a basic two sets. One is directly controlled provinces, and then there are indirectly controlled princely states. The basic point is that what they got a guarantee was that these red parts will not rebel. Cannot rebel. A princely state, it can make salt if it wants to, it can do whatever it wants to, it's just on them. Please understand it. These are semi-independent areas. These are technically dominions within India itself. So the British had 565 small or big units which together constituted the princely state concept. Why are they indirectly controlled? Because the kings are not possible. No. Not because the kings are powerful. Because the British is too scared to touch them. The fact is, eventually the British would have actually conquered all of them. But the basic point is, they rather thought, why conquer when you can control? Why conquer when you can control? Isn't this the same thing which Akbar did to the Rajputs? Why fight when you can control? Exactly same thing. Suzerainty has existed across India in different forms. Except for defense, communication and external affairs, everything they manage on their own. They don't care if the king is riding a horse or a lion, if he's burning cash, if he's doing whatever he wants to do. War is a costly affair. It is better to, it's easier. Basic point is, it is easier to hold them than to conquer them. They are not going to pay tax to the British. The people will pay the tax to the princely state owner. The princely states can make their own law until and unless it does not transgress the laws of the British. Are we all clear about the concept of paramountcy? Paramountcy. Yes. So, very simply, what is the status before 1857? They are fully independent. See, before 1857, they are either fully independent or they are under some form of domination. But now the British will formally not annex this territory. So rather, they will create this whole network of power which is based on indirect control. Suzerainty and paramountcy are the same thing. Suzerainty is the larger concept. Paramountcy is an example of suzerainty. So, if you understand dominion status, think of them as dominions. Can we agree to this much? that what India basically is two different parts, which is directly controlled provinces, indirectly controlled princely states. Are we clear about this? Then only I go forward. This is why I kept paramountcy for here, because this discussion makes more sense right now. Because Subarna 565 units made no sense conquering them, it would have led to another 1857 revolt. They just did not want a revolt. They were scared that somehow these princes are going to create the next ruckus. It was about securing the British interest in India. And the crown said that we will rather control them indirectly than actually conquering them, because it made no sense. Are we clear? Now, the irony of the story is the Indian Independence Act only applies to princes. Don't pay tax to the British, they get their taxes to themselves, that is their income. Now this creates a problem, because these indirectly controlled have three options: remain independent, join India, or join Pakistan. Now this is the problem which Patel has. See, please, I'm trying to consolidate this area. We're discussing something. I am discussing with you paramountcy because at the moment of independence, in August of 1947, there's an issue that the Indian Independence Act, the act which is passed by the British, only gives 11 provinces. This whole map is that basically the fact is that only the yellow part becomes independent. The blue part is a challenge in itself, because India could easily become a not one country but 566 different countries. As many as 565 princely states were independent or were legally independent, and their decision was not left to the people but to the princes, who either wanted to remain independent or technically remain or become a part of India or Pakistan. The whole concept is based on the concept of paramountcy. Annexation under subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse leads to the revolt of 1857, rude shock. Crown now introduces the concept of suzerainty. Princely states covered 1/3 of the land area of British Indian Empire, and 1 out of 4 Indians was under a princely ruler. These areas are indirectly controlled. Please understand this point, that basically the princely state concept is a danger to Indian unity. Now, are we able to understand why is it called consolidation of a nation? So in the three things which I told you India had, this is the fourth issue, that there are 565 units which are threatening Indian unity. Now, if you understand this concept, then I tell you how we were able to conquer it and how we were able to control it. What is paramountcy? Paramountcy is the relationship of overlordship between the British and the princely states. Princely states had internal freedom but did not have external freedom. Therefore, it was a relationship of simple control and indirect control of that area. Now, should I write this down? Wait 1 second. Paramountcy is the symbolic relationship between the queen and the princely state, which is based on internal freedom for the princes and British controlling their external affairs, defense, and communication. Paramountcy only deals with princely states. Is this clear? Everyone, come on. Clear, clear, clear. If you accept the British as a paramount power, they will not touch you. If you don't accept it, they will conquer you. Okay, very good. Now, on 5th July 1947, when the act is passed by the British in the form of the Indian Independence Act, the act provided for the creation of two independent dominions, India and Pakistan, with effect from August 15, 1947. The Constituent Assembly of each dominion was to exercise power, and the Central Legislative Assembly and Council of State were abolished. However, under the Mountbatten Plan, princely states were now rendered independence by lapse of paramountcy. That now, because Queen does not control India, so you are free. So you have now the option to join India, Pakistan, or remain independent. And this is the new problem which India has. If it was not just the fact that we had bankruptcy, we had institutions which are not democratic, the fact that we technically have created a whole structure in which the partition only creates more and more problems. India is not one but 565 units. And now it's technically like the collapse of the Mughals, if you say. Now it is two personalities. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Vallabh and VP Menon, who was the secretary to the States Department. He is the inspiration for every ICS officer. He is the IS who was behind the Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister, along with the in charge of States Department, which technically now had the task of bringing these 565 together. The task for the Iron Man of India is the fact that he has to bring all these 565 together. Now, can we discuss this whole concept? Then I will read it out of the PPT because very interesting stories are there. Very interesting stories. Yes, okay. Now, there are three considerations which Patel has. First is that the people of these princely states actually wanted to be part of India. These princes don't want to be, but the people wanted to be. Second is that India was already very, very destabilized because of the issue of partition. And Patel, third, was ready to accommodate for any form of flexibility. He was ready for flexibility, but he wanted the 565 states to be together. Now, as soon as these options come through, the first state which actually wanted to become independent is called Travancore. Travancore was the first state which actually said, we want to become independent. And basically, the Travancore king had no control, Thirunal, but rather his Diwan, C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer, Swami. C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer, he was the one who said that Travancore is going to become independent. Now, as soon as he says that, the people of Travancore actually go after C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer, and he has to technically flee out of Travancore. And therefore, the king, Thirunal, is going to call Patel, and he will say that I am ready to now sign a very important document which is called the Instrument of Accession. It's called the Instrument of Accession. Basically, this is the document which what is called integrates the princely states into India. So, the first state, as soon as we see that this concept comes through, Travancore was the first, then Nizam of Hyderabad, I will tell you, the Nawab of Bhopal, and basically the prospect of democracy in any of these zones was very, very bleak because all these Nawabs and kings were ruling as autocrats, and therefore the people had been fighting for democracy, but now they were threatened with the fact that they were under princely states. But the more interesting out of Travancore is a very simple story that the Maharaja was Chitral Thirunal. You don't have to learn all of this, just have to keep it in the mind. Was Maharaja Chitra Thirunal, and the real ruler was actually his Diwan C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer. And when C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer is going to say that I want Travancore to be an independent state, he will be attacked and people will go after C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer, and the government will thereafter, the Thirunal is going to call Patel and ask him to say that I want to be part of India. I want to be part of India. But what is the most absurd, and I then give you a very small break of 5 minutes because you need to be fresh for what I am going to discuss with you, is Bhopal. Bhopal, the ruler is Hamidullah Khan, mainly Hindu population. He said, I want to be part of Pakistan. Jinnah had a very standard policy that he said, I will give you anything and everything you want. You just become part of Pakistan. So rather than choosing to be independent or not be part of India, this fool wanted to be part of Pakistan. Now imagine one small Bhopal in between India, which is Pakistan. And as soon as Hamidullah Khan says that I want to be part of Pakistan, again the people will revolt and Patel and Menon will create a lot of pressure. And thereafter, finally, he will again sign the Instrument of Accession. The simple point of the matter is that these rulers had lost their mind. And now that you understand the concept of paramountcy and two very simple examples, what we need to discuss is how did Patel integrate them into India, his basic strategy, and the three case studies, Junagarh, Hyderabad, and Kashmir, with a small detour to Jodhpur, which is extremely important. So can I give you a very small 5-minute break here because it is going to become heavy and I want your concentration. Yes? So it is 6 of how instrument of Can we now go into the discussion of how instrument of accession works and how Patel used it? Travancore, as I said, people rebelled. Bhopal, again, people rebelled. Now Patel has a problem. Yes, Shaimil. Now Patel has a problem. The problem is that he can't be too aggressive and he can't be too lenient. The problem is that if he's too lenient, they will ask for anything and everything. And if he's too strict, why would the princely state be part of India? So now VP Menon and Patel have to follow a very difficult task of making these 565 units come together. And though a lot of people don't talk about it, there's also a role of Mountbatten in this story. As much as the British destroyed, Mountbatten played a very important role. Now, Patel had a standard strategy. Patel used to call the princely state ruler, and Patel used to say that, see, here is the offer. You do what you do. We don't care. I will give you a privy purse. I will give you some money. You enjoy. You go to Europe, wherever you want to go. I will also give you internal freedom. But what you do is that you join India. Once you do that, you will get these two things. But just give me defense, communication, and external affairs. So Patel technically has modified the concept of paramountcy, and he is saying that you join India and I am ready to give you internal freedom. I am ready to give you some money under privy purse in the exchange of defense, communication, and external affairs. It's basically Patel giving them a lollipop, that you know how you were under the British. We are also going to keep you like the British. We will give you internal freedom. You take the money, you buy a horse, you ride the horse, we don't care. But defense, communication, and external affairs, you give it to me. You give it to me. But Patel then gave one small line to the princely state. He said that this offer is only till 15th August 1947. Is only till 15th August 1947. Between 15th July and August, you have this option. And if you don't accept it on 15th August 1947, then I am not going to give you this offer again. But what is more important is Patel said, by the way, the CID and the Intelligence Bureau tells me that the people of your princely state are not very happy. So if Khuda na khasta, if by some reason you don't accept this offer and the people come to kill you, then don't come to me. So what Patel is doing is, he's giving a threat and a concession. He very simply says that the intelligence bureau is saying that people will rise against you if you don't become a part of India. If you become a part of India right now, then I give you all of this. If you don't become a part of India, then you don't get this. And if you sign this treaty or this instrument after people have come after you, then don't call me. Then don't call me. Then don't say to me, people are beating me up. So Patel had a very standard strategy. Jinha, on the other hand, was ready to technically marry his daughter to a princely state owner, but he should just technically just come and become part of Pakistan. And he will try to do it. He will technically give anything and everything. I will tell you the case of Jodhpur. But Patel has a very standard strategy. Patel has three considerations in his mind. The people want to be part of the Union of India. We are ready to accommodate plurality and flexibility, but it should not threaten the national security of India because there is already a lot of turmoil. So what Patel says is, Patel's first step was to appeal to the princes whose territories fell inside the Indian, or what we call the Indian borders, to accede into India with three subjects which were of common interest to everybody: foreign relations, defense, and communication. Once he said that if you sign the instrument of accession, you get this, you get internal freedom. He also gave an implied threat that he would not be able to restrain the impatient people of India post August 15, 1947. And he already said that I have a lot of intelligence coming from the British that there will be chaos and confusion very soon. So Patel is technically doing a master stroke here, which is he is basically threatening them that the people are going to kill you for sure. And at the same point of time, he is also in a way saying that if you come right now, I give you concessions. I give you concessions. Are you understanding Patel's strategy? Simple point. If you accept it before 15th August, you get privy purse. You also get the concept of internal freedom. You only have to give three things. If you don't give these three, if you accept it after it, I will not give it to you. And very simply, if people come after you, then don't come to me. Simple point is, it is a take it or leave it concept. Right now, I am ready to be flexible. But once people will come for your head, then don't expect flexibility from me. Can I move forward and discuss 2-3 very important things? Okay, now. But one of the most important points is that Patel then went to Mountbatten, and he said to Mountbatten that as much as you hate India, as much as whatever it may be, you have a very important speech on 25th July. On 25th July, there was a meeting which was going to happen between the princes and the viceroy under what is called the Chamber of Princes. And Patel convinces and says to Mountbatten that, see, tell the princely states that they don't have three options but have two options. Ask them not to remain independent, but technically to be part of either India or Pakistan. I'm not asking you anything else. I'm just asking you that you just tell them that they don't have three options but two options. Remaining independent is not an option. And what happens is that Mountbatten, for the first time, maybe a Britisher, was pro-Indian in that sense, that he said that, okay, I will be ready to say this to the princes. And on the 25th July speech of Mountbatten, which is considered single-handedly a very important act by Mountbatten, he will say to the princes, most of the princes were actually in Europe, they had sent their representatives. Some princes asked that if I become a part of any country, can I still kill lions and tigers? Some asked that what about my gaddi? What about my lifestyle? Mountbatten very straightforward said that you don't worry about anything. Patel is offering a very good offer. Don't think that remaining independent with two big dominions or two big independent countries such as India and Pakistan will ever be in your interest. You will never survive if you are in between India. And these 565 princely states were made aware of the fact that there was no other option other than joining India and Pakistan. And somehow this speech, which is the Patel convincing Mountbatten to bat for India, on 25th July, Mountbatten met the Chamber of Princes. And this speech is ranked one of the most significant acts of Mountbatten in India, where he said that every state was more or less ready out of these 565, except for 4, all were ready to either become part of India or Pakistan. And now we need to discuss these 4. Can we discuss these 4? We have the 4 are Junagarh, Jodhpur, Hyderabad, and Jammu and Kashmir. Okay. Now, it's a very well documented episode and it tells you the way VP Menon and Patel actually operated. And it is the curious case of Jodhpur. It is the curious case of Jodhpur. Jodhpur, Goa and what is called foreign territories, Goa and Pondicherry, I will do in the end. Sikkim is a totally different concept. I will discuss that in linguistic reorganization. Now, Jodhpur was a very interesting case. Here, the population is Hindu and the princely state ruler is also Hindu. But because it is one of the sectors which is next to the border, Jodhpur, somehow Jinnah had persuaded this Hindu ruler to become part of Pakistan. Because Jinnah said that I will give you 4 crore rupees, I will give you 2 seats in the parliament, I will give you anything and everything you ask for. Things which he could not have given, but he promised it to the Jodhpur ruler. Now, Patel was really concerned about this issue because if Jodhpur goes to Pakistan, the border moves inward or outward. It moves inward or outward. It moves inward. So basically, in Rajasthan sector, it moves inward. So now Patel and Menon have a plan. Patel goes to Mountbatten and says to that you call Jodhpur ruler to Delhi. Menon wants to talk. VP Menon wants to talk. Obviously, don't write all these stories in the examination, but an interesting episode. Now, Jodhpur ruler comes to Rashtrapati Bhavan, which is Viceroy's palace. And now, this new young ruler, Mountbatten plays the father card. That I knew your father, keeping his hand on the shoulder of the prince. And he said, I knew your father. And this is not today Jodhpur, very big sector. I knew your father. And if he had known what you are doing today, he would be really disappointed in you. So the first thing which they play is basically the father card. That your father would be disappointed that being a Hindu and being an Indian patriot, he would like you to technically be part of India. So it's emotional drama. Now, Jodhpur district, yes. Now, Mountbatten says that I will have breakfast. You go and meet VP Menon. He's sitting in the conference room. He would like to speak to you about accession into India. So, Menon sits there. Jodhpur ruler comes and meets Menon. And now the drama starts. Jodhpur ruler says, I want 30 crore rupees. Menon says, Jodhpur ruler says, I want 20 seats specifically for Jodhpur in the parliament. Menon says, no. He says, I want this. No. I want that. No. Now the Jodhpur ruler starts to get irritated. And in the fit of irritation, he takes out his royal gun and now points it towards Menon. And he says, when you had not to agree anything to what you have said, then why have you called me to Delhi? Now there is commotion that the Jodhpur ruler has taken out a gun in front of VP Menon. And now Mountbatten rushes to the conference room and he says to the Jodhpur ruler to calm down. And he says to the Jodhpur ruler, have you lost your mind? What are you doing? You are trying to shoot an IS officer, that to an Indian IS officer. Now Menon says two things to Jodhpur ruler. He says, you have two options. First, you accede to India. And if not, you have threatened an Indian IS officer inside the Viceregal's palace. And this is an offense according to the Indian Penal Code. Either you accede to India or you go back or you are going to get jailed as soon as you leave this room. And now the Jodhpur ruler realizes the larger plan which Menon and Patel had worked out, which was to provoke him. And this is the way actually Jodhpur acceded to India because of Menon's cunningness. Now what I tell you out of this episode is that accession of these states was a very intricate and very difficult task. Very, very difficult task. And here is Menon, who is technically ready to put his life in front of this ruler who has lost his mind in order to accede Jodhpur into India. For the national security of India, he technically was ready to die. And this is the beauty of these two personalities. That for Patel and Menon, it was not a task, it was life. VP Menon was an IS officer. He was the secretary to the States Department. So you understand Jodhpur? You understand Jodhpur? Okay. But for the purpose of the examination, you only write this. A Hindu king was there. Its accession was a serious issue due to its proximity to the border. Jinnah had persuaded him, but after tremendous pressure from Patel and Menon, finally he signed the instrument of accession. Obviously, you can't write this story. So now we have done a very major chunk of what we need to do. We understood the problems which India were facing, partition, issues of economics, issues of the concept of the institutions not being democratic. And thereafter, we introduced the concept of princely states and how princely states pose a challenge to the national unity of and the national security of India itself. Now, the process of how how basically Patel was able to find a midway by offering them something and also convincing Mountbatten. As of more or less August of 1947, 562 had been solved. Now it was about the three, which is Junagarh, Hyderabad, and Kashmir. Can I discuss Junagarh? Most probably we'll discuss Junagarh and Hyderabad. Kashmir we do tomorrow. Kashmir, Puducherry, and Goa we do tomorrow. Okay, so Junagarh. Now, when we talk about Junagarh, Junagarh is a major security threat to India. I'll show you. This is basically Junagarh. Now, Junagarh king basically wanted to be part of Pakistan or remain independent, but he did not want to be part of India. So, if Junagarh becomes independent or he becomes as actually a part of Pakistan, then the whole coastline of India, the western coast itself, is now threatened. Because India cannot have any trade with Junagarh being a country which is oversighting or looking towards each and every important port of India. So Junagarh was a serious issue. Now, very simply, Junagarh, the security threat was such that the king again, he did this drama that he wants to be part of Pakistan or independent. And the story of Junagarh is the same, that basically the king will say that I want to be part of Pakistan. The people will actually go after him, and this is the most beautiful part of Junagarh, where there was a proper people's movement which rose from the ground, and people actually had a mass movement against this ruler, and this ruler actually had to flee to Pakistan. And it is again the Diwan who calls in Patel to say that we will be happy to hold a plebiscite. Till that point, I would like you to send the Indian army to basically make the situation not that explosive. And once the situation, law and order situation, is okay, we will go for a plebiscite, which is a voting. And if they say that they want to be a part of India, we will be a part of India. So the Junagarh story basically is again a story of the victory of the people, because though Junagarh is a very important state with regards to its area or its area in Indian territory itself, Nawab Mahabat Khan announced accession of the state to Pakistan on 15th August 1947. And the state was overwhelmingly Hindu and desired to be part of India. As soon as that happens, the people start a mass movement, and the Junagadhi people force the Nawab to flee to Pakistan, and they also make a small provisional government which is called Arz-e-Hukumat by Samal Das Gandhi. Samal Das Gandhi was the leader who actually, the ruler is Muslim, people are Hindu. The fact is that Samal Das Gandhi was the one who led them. Thereafter, the Diwan of Junagarh, Shah Nawaz Bhutto, will invite the Indian government to intervene. The troops will be sent to make the law and order situation fine. And once the plebiscite will be held in February of 1948, everybody wanted to be a part of India, and Junagarh will accede to India. Now, the ironical part is that the Diwan is Shah Nawaz Bhutto, who is the grandfather of rather Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Benazir Bhutto family. He is the Diwan of Junagarh. After this plebiscite, he also goes to Pakistan. Now, why am I telling you about Junagarh? Because if you will open a certain set of news channels, for example, Al Jazeera, the Qatari news, which is quite pro-Pakistan, they will say that India occupied Junagarh via military action and then did a plebiscite. Therefore, the people of Junagarh were forced to become a part of India. There's a narrative which this Al Jazeera type of news channels produce, which is that we used force in Junagarh. There was a people's movement, and it was a Diwan who called Patel, and it was actually, the basic point is, the plebiscite was held under no pressure. And when it comes to Junagarh, Hyderabad and Kashmir, there's a certain type of narrative which these pro-Pakistan countries produce, which is that India forced the issue. But out of the story which I told you, did India force Junagarh to become part of India? No. So please stay away from certain news channels and certain news articles which are going to talk about this issue like India did something bad. No, India didn't. No, India didn't. Junagarh simply was a law and order situation which Patel had to manage, and that thereafter plebiscite to make it part of India. Are we clear about Junagarh? Yes? Then let's go to Hyderabad. Now, Hyderabad is a little bit of a messy story. Hyderabad is a little bit of a messy story because Hyderabad, the same thing happens, which is that the king of, or the Nizam of Hyderabad basically was a little bit smarter than Mahabad Khan. And he did what is called, he signed with India a stand still agreement. That I need time to, yes, Mir Usman Ali, that I need time to think. I need time to think. And he said, we will stand still. Standstill agreement means that I will not sign the instrument of accession, but I need time to think. And there was a proper channel through which Mir Usman Ali, he was basically contacting Jinnah, and he was contemplating independence. And he had his own concept of the concept of a small party which used to justify his rule. He said that I'm not here as a ruler, but I'm elected by a political party. The fact was that it was all a puppet or a drama. Now, Hyderabad, again, there will be multiple instances which Mir Osman Ali showed that he had no inclination to be part of India. Hyderabad, you want to see on map? Hyderabad is this. Very important part. Hyderabad is this. Very big part of South India. So standstill agreement was basically a drama which he did, that I want to take time. Stand still, that we will not either proceed with the instrument of accession, we will not remove the instrument of accession of the table. I want to technically discuss. It's a pause button. So Mir Usman Ali and the party Majlis-e-Ittihad-e-Muslimin, the whole concept was that he was just buying time to become either part of Pakistan or get independent. Now, again, in Hyderabad, there will be a proper people's movement which is going to rise, in which the Congress wing of Hyderabad, even the Communist Party, are now going to come on the streets. The people knew that the Nizam was extremely tyrannical. very, very bad. The people were actually more or less both a mix of Hindus and Muslims. The fact was that the peasantry was Muslim, but they had seen the wrath of the Nizam. The Nizam, Mir Usman Ali, was not a very popular personality. Everybody was waiting for independence, that somehow India could get independence and they could become a part of the people, or become the part of the people of India. But the problem with Hyderabad is that as soon as the people came to the streets, women, peasant, or came to the streets, Mir Osman Ali, rather than actually complying to the will of the people, introduced or used his Razakars. Razakars is his own army, and the Razakars will now rain down terror on the people. Rain down terror on the people, which is that basically they will now start to kill, slaughter, rape, loot the people of this movement. And as soon as Patel gets to know that Hyderabad, by signing this standstill agreement, is basically now killing its own people because they want to be part of India, Patel will lose it and he will ask the Indian army to enter into Hyderabad, which is called Operation Polo. And he said that I don't care what the world will think, but I can't let the people of princely state die because they said that they wanted to be a part of India. And the Indian army is going to technically defeat the Razakars. Most of them will be shot, and the Nizam is going to be arrested for his genocidal violence which he did on the people. And as soon as he will be arrested, he will sign the instrument of accession in jail, because Patel said that he does not deserve to be part of even a formal agreement. So Patel did not send the army because he wanted to kill Mir Usman Ali. He sent the army to protect the people of India who wanted to be part of India. Again, certain media channels will say India used force. But did India actually use force? Did India actually want to pressurize the Hyderabad king? No. It is police action, it is army action. But if it is about protecting the people, then everything is justified. We don't care what Al Jazeera says. We don't care what Pakistan says. Very simply, Hyderabad was that one moment when Patel was not ready for the people of a state to die because their only demand was to be part of India. So the basic point of the matter is Hyderabad, the largest princely state, was surrounded entirely by Indian territory. And that is the basic point. A lot of misinformation is there about Hyderabad, that basically Hyderabad was forcefully taken. No. Hyderabad, the largest princely state, even had parts of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh. The Nizam was an unjust tyrannical ruler with Majlis-e-Ittihad-e-Muslimin, the MIM, as a form of a political party which tried to safeguard the interest of Muslims in India, but it was all a drama. It was just a drama to legitimize his rule. MIM advocated to set up a Muslim dominion rather than integration with India. Mir Osman Ali wanted an independent status for Hyderabad. He entered into what is called the standstill agreement with India in November of 1947 for a year while negotiations were happening with Indian government. Meanwhile, a movement of the people of Hyderabad started against the Nizam's rule, and it gathered or started to gather force. Thereafter, the peasantry in Telangana region, I'll tell you what to do with this information. The peasantry in Telangana region in particular was the victim of Nizam's oppressive rule and rose against him. Women who had seen the worst of the oppression joined the movement in large numbers, and Hyderabad now became the nerve center of this movement. The communists and the Hyderabad Congress were on the forefront of this movement. However, the Nizam responded by unleashing his paramilitary force called the Razakars. Atrocities of communal nature had no bounds. Razakars literally shot the people who were protesting. They murdered, maimed, raped, looted, targeted even the non-Muslim population. The central government then had to order army to tackle this solution. And in September of 1948, Indian Army moved in to control the Nizam's forces. And after of days of intermittent fighting, the Nizam surrendered. And this led to Hyderabad's assertion or accession into India. We'll not discuss Kashmir today, but if you want, I'll give you a feel of Kashmir. The basic point of the matter is, what do you do with this information? No, Abhinav, no connection. No connection. What you need to understand is that they can ask you two type of questions. First type of question will be, what were the strategies of integration of princely states into India? Can you answer that question? Technically, it's asking Sardar Patel's strategy. Can you answer that type of question? You can answer that. They can ask you a question, what were the challenges of what were the challenges which India faced as soon as it got independence? We can answer that also. Basically, 4 major challenges. And the last could be, discuss the process of accession of Hyderabad or Junagarh or Kashmir into India. So they can ask you a small question in which you just have to narrate this basic story. As you can see, I have not put in too much information because I don't want you to get caught up in information. Just write this whole answer, this whole slide, and you will get a 250-word answer. 250-word answer. Rahul, from time to time, it can go away because post-independence sometimes get absorbed within modern Indian questions also. So I will show you that when I will discuss it on Wednesday. Basic point of the matter is that the simplest of simplest fact is, once we're done with the 3 units on Monday, we will basically discuss the questions. See, the point is, post-independence is something. No, there is no connection, Mohammed, between the two. Post-independence is something which enriches your knowledge. So don't have to always look for questions. So very simply, before we end for today, what have we done? The simple issue is, we've understood the 4 challenges, the concept of partition, the concept of simply the economic and institutional challenges, and we've also discussed the issue of what we call as the accession of certain states. Now I'll give you a very simple 2-minute summary of Hyderabad, of Kashmir, and then you will automatically realize it will take me 5 minutes, 10 minutes to cover this area, and we do linguistic reorganization and language issues tomorrow. Now, what is the concept of Kashmir? See, Kashmir ruler is Hari Singh, Hindu, but people more or less 60-65% is Muslim population. But the Muslim and Hindu population both were very happy under Hari Singh. Hari Singh considered a good ruler. However, now Pakistan will start to lose it because it has lost Junagarh. It was on the process of losing Hyderabad. So basically, Pakistan wanted to short circuit this system. And because Pakistan's water system, the Indus River, it originates in the Jammu and Kashmir sector, it was important for them to hold this area. Generally, it was Pakistan's frustration with all the things which were happening generally. Now, what is going to happen is, Hari Singh will say that I will not become a part of Pakistan or will not become a part of India. He wanted to be independent, and therefore he actually did not sign the instrument of accession with India. But now Pakistan said that we will not let Kashmir be an independent state, Jammu and Kashmir. And therefore, what they will do is that with the Pathani tribe, my quality has gone down, right? Yes, my quality has gone down. Yes. I'll refresh 1 second. There are Pashtun tribes also, but the Pathani tribes also. What they do is that via what is called the Haji Pir Pass, the Pakistani army now starts to enter into Jammu and Kashmir. And Patel technically honored what Hari Singh said, and he did not say anything. He said, okay, you want to be independent, we honor that. Now Pakistan wanted to push the issue, and Pakistan now started to end the started to push the Pakistani army into the Kashmir sector. First, the Pakistani army, I am again repeating myself, Hari Singh, ruler, Hindu Muslim population. He does not sign either instrument of accessions. He wants to remain independent. As soon as he says they want to be independent, Pakistan pushes it. They push the army into the valley. And the first thing which they actually tried to do is basically wanted to the people to rebel against Hari Singh. That they didn't. So the Pakistani army was never able to technically incite violence against Hari Singh. So they now take issues in their own hand and now start to push towards Srinagar. Now there's a call which goes to Patel from Hari Singh that Pakistan has entered into Jammu and Kashmir. Its army is near Srinagar. I can't hold them. Please help me. Please help me. You need to send your troops and help me because I am fighting for my independence. Now Patel says to Hari Singh that I cannot send the Indian army because then what is the difference between me and Pakistan? If we go by international law, you are a separate country itself. So if I send my army, then at a later stage, Pakistan will say that we were also illegally occupying Jammu and Kashmir. So Hari Singh says that, he says, okay, he cut the call and he calls Viceroy, he calls Mountbatten. And he says that I am asking for Patel for help, but Patel is not helping because he's saying that I am an independent country. So Mountbatten again says that technically he has a point. You are an independent country, he can't send his army. And it is in this context of the Pakistani army close to kilometers away from Srinagar that Hari Singh is going to sign the instrument of accession. Now tell me one thing. If Hari Singh signs the instrument of accession to India, does Jammu and Kashmir become a part of India? Yes, the army was bifurcated. Yes, it does. So technically Jammu and Kashmir is part of India now. Now the Indian army technically enters. 100 planes will take close to 5,000 soldiers and they will now be airdropped to Srinagar and there will be fighting between the Indian army and the Pakistani. Imagine that we had not even been 1 day of our existence and we are fighting a war. And whilst we were able to push off the Pakistanis out of the Jammu sector, because of the weather conditions, we were not able to move still further. And basically by 1947 December, Jammu sector and Ladakh sector was totally open, but the Kashmir valley was left, Gilgit and Baltistan as it is called, was left. And now there is a moment that no army can go forward or backward. So therefore there is a ceasefire. But here Nehru is going to do a blunder which he will realize also, which is that he will believe that the UN works. And he will take this issue to the UN saying that we have the instrument of accession and we will just say that Pakistan is illegally occupying Gilgit and Baltistan. However, the UN at this point of time, because India had not chosen any of the two sides, was pro-Pakistan. And now they will start to do drama over this issue that you created pressure on Hari Singh, this, that. And now POK, or what we call as Indian part of Kashmir or Kashmir itself, is going to become a problem. And finally, there will be a resolution which is going to come in 1951 from the UN after doing a drama for 3 years. And the resolution will say that let the people of Kashmir decide. And you hear the wording which I'm going to say here. It said, Pakistan should remove its army from Kashmir Valley and the UN will hold a plebiscite to check if the people want to be part of Pakistan or India. Now, people criticize India because they said that we did not do plebiscite or voting because we were scared. But the first line says that Pakistan should remove its army. So if Pakistan did not remove its army, why should we hold the plebiscite? You tell me. First part is Pakistan should remove the army. But has Pakistan removed the army? You tell me. Did Pakistan remove the army? No, it didn't. So if did not remove the army, then why are we being criticized for the referendum, the plebiscite, whatever it may be? So India very simply said that the first part of the story is that you remove the army. If you remove the army, then we already know that the instrument of accession is towards us. And we know that Hari Singh, and we have the document that basically Hari Singh had signed it. Now, Pakistan can do any drama around it, but Kashmir has been, will be, and is an undivided part of India and is part of India because instrument of accession says that you are illegally occupying and you are then doing this drama that basically the people of Kashmir don't want. We still till today don't fear the mandate of the people. We actually don't fear the mandate of the people. What we fear is that the Pakistanis are not leaving this sector itself. Right? So we'll discuss this again tomorrow first thing. I will see you tomorrow at 7. No, not PM. Oh. I will see you at 7 a.m. in the morning till 10:30 a.m. And we'll take this story forward and we'll talk about what is called the concept of Pakistan, Goa, Puducherry, linguistic reorganization, and official language controversy. Right? So I hope that you found this session useful and at least some type of understanding is now there about what happened in India after independence itself. Right? Great. Perfect. Many questions answered which were in your mind since childhood. Jay, I hope all questions are answered. Thank you so much for your patience. I will see you tomorrow, 7 a.m. extra class because of the